If the title of this video triggered you, I want to let you know that I believe that art teachers are the most important resource in our public schools. We are the STEM experts. Our students outperform their non-art involved peers by significant margins on standardized tests. For example, the SAT, art students tend to score about 100 points higher than their non-art involved peers. We are also at the top of Bloom's Taxonomy. We create, design, assemble, construct, develop based on problems that we give our students and they solve in creative ways. Art teachers know that when we grid, measure, and draw, we use geometry. When we make sculptures, we use engineering. When we mix colors, we reveal information about physics. When we study the styles of art from Da Vinci to Banksy, we teach history. When we teach ceramics, we're also teaching chemistry. When we write about art, we strengthen our writing skills. When we create works of art, we solve complex visual problems in creative ways. There's going to be more about this in the description with links to studies and proof. Recently, I created a survey on an art teachers Facebook group with just elementary art teachers. I asked them, what is the primary #1 goal for art education in a public school setting for grades K through 4? These were the results. 51% said creative expression, 19% said teaching problem solving, 16% said using art to connect and deepen understanding of all subject areas, 8% said teaching skills and techniques, 4% said building fine motor skills, 2% said media exploration, less than 1% said therapeutic outlet, and nobody, not one art teacher, no matter how they teach, said that to copy an example and create a pleasing product was a primary goal. When I redid the survey and allowed people to pick more than one, pick their top 3 reasons, there was a little bit of a change in the survey, and teaching skills and techniques moved up to the 3rd position with a little less than a third of the respondents. So that means that projects like these are happening out there. When I ask why projects like these are being done, what is the pedagogical reason or justification for a project like this, I got quite a few answers. And these are the top ones, and I sort of put the answers together to make it easier to kind of understand. So they are highly praised by parents, administrators, and fellow teachers. The results are consistent and a high percentage of students succeed. Children are not ready to explore individually yet. It teaches specific skills, tool handling, and builds confidence. Students are comfortable with this structure. It's used in most math classes, science classes, and things like that. It's like piano. You have to teach the scales before you can compose a song, or like algebra, you need to learn your addition tables and subtraction tables before you do algebra. Professional artists copy the masters as part of their studies. We should too. They learn about artists. Planning is easy, requiring only process and media experience. Everyone learns the same thing at the same time. It's easy to demonstrate meeting curriculum standards overtly, and it's easy to grade on a rubric. And it's better than nothing at all. So we're going to put up our survey here and see how these justifications kind of match up to what we believe are the important attributes of art education in a K-4 setting. So we said they're highly praised by parents, administrators, and fellow teachers. But if the primary goal of art education is creative expression and problem solving, these do the exact opposite. All the problems have been worked out by the teacher. Nothing about these show any creative expression. If the work has no personal connections, can we really call it art? The results are consistent, and a high percentage of students succeed. Not one educator said that creating a pleasing product was an important goal of art education. Success does not translate to learning. These students solved no problems, they parroted their teacher, and success was measured by how well they matched the teaching example. They're not ready to explore individuality yet. Have you ever seen a kid play with the box and not the gift? The box becomes a car, the body of a robot, a fort, a hiding place, a sled. To suggest that a child cannot explore media is to ignore the reality that children are creative geniuses, and as they age, their creative thinking skills diminish because they're rewarded for convergent thinking skills and discouraged from divergent thinking skills. This link will take you to some more information about that I really strongly urge you to take a look at. It teaches specific skills, tool handling, and builds confidence. But the confidence comes in the form of praise that is given for work that conforms to the example, and the highest praise is for the student who is able to mimic their teacher's example. Those who paint the grass green, instead paint it red, or make a bridge differently than how the teacher does it, may be praised by the teacher for their creative flair, but their peers know and affirm that somehow it's wrong. 2 and 2 equals 4. Grass is always green, and good bridges look like the one the teacher created. Students are comfortable with structure. It's used in most classes like math, science, etc. Well, art is not math. Art is not science. If you ask a child to solve a problem in a core content class, there is often a single correct answer. If a child takes 1 hour or 1 minute to come up with the correct answer, the grade is the same. But in art, we know that the process, how you get to the final image, is often more important than the actual final artwork. In art, if you ask a child to draw a dream, sculpt a vessel to hold a memory, paint a playful garden, each child will have a different result, and each will be, in their own way, correct. Students are never given supplies and told to draw whatever. Certified art teachers introduced, demonstrate media, set parameters, motivate their students to create in safe environments. It's like teaching piano. You have to do the scales before you can compose a song. Or in algebra, you can't do that until you learn your addition and subtraction tables. As I've said before in a video that I'm going to link below, if you give students just the 3 primary colors, they will discover the secondary colors on their own. And this might be covered in the introduction to a lesson by that certified teacher. When playing piano, there are right notes and wrong notes. There is right cadence and wrong cadence. Fine art is different. If I asked a child to show me their dream, they could do it in crayon, paint, marker, or any medium, even clay. We would expect that every child's dream would be different because each child is different. This is because art is inherently different from all the other performing arts, except perhaps dance. It has a lot of creative connections that way, expressive connections. Professional artists copy the masters as part of their own studies. We should too. About 2% of students go on to an art-related career, but we teach in a public school setting. We need to teach 100% of our students. The atelier approach is really only appropriate for those 2% that are considering art as a profession, and it might be better handled in a club setting or summer classes. Professional artists were not marched into museums as children and told to copy the masters. Children don't have the capacity to understand perspective and many color theory concepts until well into middle school. One can get a group of first graders to imitate perspective, but they will not independently, internally understand it. The atelier approach is really appropriate for older students and those on a career art path. They learn about artists. I would argue that every lesson is, or can be, tied to contemporary art history and artists. It's universally recognized as part of art education programs in a school setting, so this is not new or unique. Planning is easy, requiring only process and media experience. Certainly this is true, but if you take a step back and think a little deeper about this, that lack of differentiation and deft connection to the student's individuality could also be argued that a certified art instructor is unnecessary. Anyone can lead a group to follow step-by-step directions and is capable of leading a lesson like this. Everyone learns the same thing at the same time. Again, this makes the art teacher's job easier, but ignores the fact that every child comes to class with a wealth of different experiences that will never see the light of day. Those with talent will be identified by their ability to parrot an example, and truly creative children will be hidden because their talents are masked by the design of the lesson. It's easy to demonstrate that I'm meeting curriculum standards overtly and easy to grade on a rubric. If curriculum focuses on the acquisition of skills over expression, I would argue that the curriculum needs to be revisited. We know through research that art education teaches problem solving and enhances understanding of core content. We know that students who have art outscore their peers on exams like the SAT by 100 points. However, this 100-point advantage is an average among all different types of teaching styles, from the cookie-cutter approach to TAB, teaching artistic behavior. My projects tend to skew between modified choice and TAB. I asked my guidance department how my students were doing on their SATs, and they found my students were outperforming their non-art peers by about 155 points on average. If you operate a more copy-me model, check with your guidance department and see how well your students are doing. It's better than no art at all. Isn't that just the saddest justification of them all? So, to sum up the information here, with projects like these, there's no differentiation, there's no personal connections, they did not learn anything about themselves in the process, there was no problem solving, it was all done for them, and there's no learning to explore individually. It disengages learners. Product is more important than the process. There is no room for creativity or interpretation. Allowing different colors is not enough. There are few core content connections made. Students are not creating, they're following. It does not build confidence in exploring oneself. There is a sense of correct and incorrect in this activity. Self-esteem may suffer by not meeting the exemplar proficiency, and the viewer or the audience can infer nothing about the artist. So what do we do instead? Well, you could see many of Monet's works, take the kids outside, and create something in plein air. You could still limit the colors so we don't have a mess in the art room, but, it's better. You could teach how to make the bridge, but create your own environment. You could study bridges and draw a bridge from where you are to where you want to go, or maybe to your dream world. You could see the Monet bridges as a sketch for a real individualized project. These are my examples, by the way. I'm not bringing the work of actual children in here. So this video is not about blame. I'm not calling out bad teachers. It's a call to action to help improve our profession in a direction that meets the standards we have already identified and agree are the key components to art education: creative expression, teaching problem solving, using art to connect and deepen understanding to all of our subject areas in a public school setting. So why do I care? Why do I care what you do in your classroom? Well, I grew up in a family where art was appreciated and encouraged. My mom was an art student. My grandmother was an artist. My great-grandmother was an artist until she was 100. I grew up with art around me all the time. I grew up poor, and my mother would buy crayons and butcher paper and kick it across the floor, and I would draw all day. Those were my toys. So it was always encouraged. Then I go to school, and it was these copy me projects. I hated it. I hated it so much because the little girl who was able to copy it in my class got all of this praise and accolades, and I was doing creative things and everyone was ignoring me. So I decided, well, I'm not even going to try. So I would do all sorts of scribbles and things and turn it in, and I just didn't care because I knew that wasn't art. That wasn't what I experienced at home. That wasn't the joy that I felt. So it even got so bad that my mom was called in for a conference. And she said, you're only hurting yourself by doing this. But she understood and kind of validated what I was saying. And, you know, we got some more crayons and we got some more supplies. So I was able to continue being creative. And when I went to college, I decided I was going to be a pre-law major. And I was good at arguing, you know, but I didn't want to do what was done to me as a child in an art class. I figured I'm going to take art as, you know, my minor, pre-law major, art minor. So there was one class that I took, which was puppeteering with Dr. Chris Craig. And I didn't know it, but she was the head of the art education department. And she saw me helping all the students in the classroom with their puppet projects. And when they would come in with their little, you know, they made a puppet. Mine were like these contraptions that you had to wear, and there was engineering involved in it. I'm painting, I'm drawing, I'm sculpting, I'm engineering, I'm doing all of this stuff. And she's asking me, why aren't you in my department? And I told her exactly what had happened. This is the kind of stuff that I was exposed to as a kid, and that's how they teach art in school. And she said, no, that's not how we do it anymore. And she took me to see Ken Vythe teach in the neighboring town. And if you don't know who he is, you need to look him up. I'll put him in the description. But he was an amazing teacher, still is, an amazing teacher. Puts out amazing books on art education that really engage and grab the students' attention. And no two projects come out of that room the same, kindergarten through 12th grade. And I thought, that's what I want to do. So that's when I made the switch. And that's why I'm passionate about this particular subject. Since then, I've written over 50 books on art education. I've been teaching for over 30 years in places like Egypt, Japan, and of course the United States. I've achieved my national board certification and continue to advocate for art education nationally and internationally through my many books and publications. This video is to illustrate how cookie-cutter projects, no matter how cute, fall short and may ultimately be destructive to our profession. You don't need a teaching certificate to do this kind of stuff with a group of kids. For those of you looking for examples of choice-based explorations, I encourage you to check out the links below and visit my blog, artedguru.com. I have lots and lots of free stuff that you are welcome to steal and use in your classroom and change to fit your needs. I even have, I'm even visiting other schools. So if you'd like me to come to your district and do some professional development, there are going to be links in my blog to that as well. I truly believe that art education is the one thing that can save our failing schools, and that art teachers are our greatest educational resource. I just feel sad sometimes when we're treated like babysitters, or worse, when we believe it. Thank you. If you felt that this was helpful, go ahead and look at more videos on this playlist and consider subscribing. Have a great day.